What's up, guys? What is up? Welcome back to another episode of Deck Talk Podcast. And we have a good friend of the podcast, and we that is on. And I've been looking forward to getting him on, and excited that our schedules finally matched up. And but let's take care of business real quick, and then we'll get into the introductions. You feel stuck and low? Grab Waze Energy Drink. Clean power, zero crash, laser focus all day long. Crush your day with Waze Energy Drink. Go to website wazeenergy.com. Use discount code TALK10 and make sure you grab those energy drinks and get a little discount on top of that. But we want to thank Waze for sponsoring the podcast, and here later on, you will see what they sponsor in the podcast with a salute to Valor. And so, thank you, Waze, for all that you have done for us, and being there for us when we need it. But make sure you go grab Waze energy drinks. We have ours right here with us. But guys, I want to get on into the introduction. We got Jared Sullivan with Copper Red Baits. I almost said flipping the script, but he is with flipping the script. And and so that flipping the script is how I became to know Jared, and been fortunate enough to be out on the boat with him a couple times and had a blast. And so, but his bait company, Copper Red Baits, is doing some crazy things. And we're going to get down and dirty with talking about the baits that they have. And, but if you don't know Jared, we got Jared Sullivan. So, Jared, what's up, brother?
What's going on?
What is happening?
I tell you, we're just living the dream. And
been a long time since been a long journey since we first got acquainted there, Colin.
Yeah, well, the thing, and I didn't realize that it, but you're right. We was talking earlier, and you said that it's been about 6 or so years, and I was like, goodness, it didn't seem like it's been that long, and but it's been, it definitely has been that long, and but so what? So how's things going with you and the family?
Oh man, we are blessed. I mean, it's like you said, I look back and I can't believe it's been 6 years, because we started the whole YouTube channel when all that COVID nonsense started. And I actually started it just to give my friends a place to go, so I didn't have to repeat myself so often. So I could be like, "Hey, let's go check out that video that I made." And here we are 6 years later, and now, I mean, I could have never guessed what the good Lord had planned for us. I mean, just trying to keep my options open and trying to adjust with whatever comes along. And I could have never dreamt he'd have us with our own lure company and all that kind of stuff. So it's been a ride, and it's been a lot of fun. But I'm eager to see what he's got around the next corner. So
yeah, and I am too. I mean, because we when you like we were talking, and I can remember you telling me that you were wanting to have, because the first time we went out, we went and started throwing some top water, and you're like, and you had told me that you were wanting to make a frog, and I was like, okay. And then the next thing I know, I see Facebook posts, and you message me and send me pictures and stuff of the frog, and I was like, heck yeah, he done it. And so, but I mean, with that, I mean, you've grown it to where now you've got multiple frogs, multiple size frogs, and now, I mean, and you've grown copper red baits. I say you. I say that with saying
The
that.
team. It's been a lot of people.
Right. There's been a whole team wrapped around the whole situation, but and and how I think you've done things um has been the right way, in my opinion, because you had an option to where you could have put the, and we was just talking about this the other week, and that you could have put your frog in another location, but they wanted you to take it out of a location, which we want. I don't want to say and kind of bash anything on that, but
Mhm.
and if you would have put it in, you could have. You might have seen something that flurry like explosion happen sooner. But I think how you kind of just brought it and just kind of stayed consistent with it, that that was probably the best idea in the long run.
Yeah, I've always been of the belief that if you put in the hard work, the discipline, and the dedication, and done what's right, and be kind to people along the way, then things will work out how they're supposed to. So I'm not going
Agreed.
to worry too much about
Mhm.
whether or not we make it big or whether or not it fails. If it does, it doesn't. It's not really my concern as much as trying to do what's right with whatever's put in front of me. I just want to do the right thing. So, and I just believe that God's going to do what He will with it. So I'm not really that concerned about, like I said, making it big or anything like that. I just want to do it right. Now,
Right.
obviously, I had to make the decision a little while back with the lure company. Okay, do I want to try to do this for a living, or do I want to just have this as like a side hustle that just flames out? Well, I made the decision to try to do it for a living, and recently, just actually this past April, after having the lure company for 4 years now, the I was able to quit Volkswagen. So I was working at Volkswagen. I've been there almost 15 years,
I was
and
gonna say you had been there a minute.
yeah,
So,
and the cool thing, even though Volkswagen definitely wasn't what I wanted to do, it's definitely one of those things where it provided me an opportunity to be able uh to try some things on the side and see what would take hold and that kind of thing. So
Mhm.
it kind of gave me that option. So uh
yeah.
any of you guys out there that have any skill, social media with all of its negatives and pros and cons, it also it gives you the opportunity to do things that it took a lot of money to do in the past. I mean,
Yeah.
you can go promote yourself and your own abilities and that kind of thing. And if you have enough people following you, you can get paid for it. I mean, where that used to cost thousands of dollars in the past, now I can actually make a commercial and get paid to do it. So
Right.
it really changes things. So I mean, yeah, if anybody's got a real desire, if they're willing to put themselves out there a little bit, you never know what's going to happen. So I never
Well,
dreamed I'd have a lure company. I've always tinkered with lures, but never
well,
thought.
and that was one thing. That was one thing that I was wanting to talk about, or
Uh,
just kind of mention. Of I can remember being on the boat with you, and we we were catching some fish, and then we wasn't really catching the size of fish, but then like you done something to where like you was always kind of like messing around with baits and stuff, and you kind of uh and and so in what you were doing, I was like, all right, that's something I hadn't ever thought of, and I can remember you told me, you're like, well, I mean, if they're catching, let's just say for instance, like on a small swim bait or something like that, and then like you kind of like, well, they're used to seeing, they're seeing this, so all these different small swim baits, and so you have to make it a little different, and so you would, and just kind of seeing how your mind was working
mm,
with kind of like innovating, trying to turn something that we knew that they were hitting, but trying to make it different to be able to catch that bigger bass. And it was kind of cool to see your mind working in that aspect of things.
So
And
sometimes I tend to do a little bit more tinkering with lures on even while I'm out there than I do fishing. I mean, you know, if the fish are hitting something, but you're lacking in size or you're lacking in consistency and bite or whatever, you know, there's always some little nuance that if you can figure it out, then it can go from a good day to an epic day. And
yeah,
I'm always thinking about that. So. Yeah, and especially on Chickamauga with all the pressure that it gets,
Hmm.
you got
Yeah.
to throw something just a little bit different. It can be the same lure everybody's throwing, or you know that kind of thing. But if you're doing something just a little bit different with it, then it can make a huge difference. And that's something I've recognized in the past. Sometimes it will cost you to have a flop of a day, but other times other times it can really do it can something special can happen.
yeah, it has its ways of how I look at it. You know, it has its ways of kind of working itself out. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
um, to where it may be something to where, yeah, you're out a month later or however, you know, to where you're like, you know, I done this and I was able to get a bite off of it.
Hmm.
And then that circumstance happens again to where you're like, oh yeah, I remember doing this and was able to, and then it turns around that way. And uh, because I kind of do the same thing, not to the extremes that you do, but I'm always trying to think of how, if I've got a bait, if I need to compact it or if I need to have a bigger bait or whatever. Trying to it's and I think that's just a fisherman inside of everybody
Yeah.
to that wants um, to be able uh, to be able to try to catch that bigger fish. And so, or even just to, maybe not the bigger fish, but just to go out, because a lot of people's not as fortunate as what we are to be able to go out on the water and just to where we're out enough to where we can target that bigger fish, to where some people may just be that weekend angler.
Well, you know, and that's where a lot of R&D, research and development happens, is out there on the lake. You know, you get out there and or in my case, I mean, it can happen in my swimming pool. You know, I might
Yeah,
take a bait out there and flip in my pool and see what, you know, see if it is a I don't know, whatever it may be, a spinner bait or whatever, you know, and then if it's not doing what I want it to do, then I'll kind of make some kind of adjustment to it and be like, okay, I like that, you know. But that's,
yeah,
you know, fishing, you're not only fishing, you know, but it's a constant R&D out there, you know, research development. And I admire that, man. I mean, you know, a lot of people, they get out there and especially if you're a tinker, you know, you like just like tinkering with stuff constantly, you know, trying to make it better or come up with a better idea. And that, I kind of get that vibe off of you. You're kind of like a tinker, you know, you want to put your own twist on something else that's already out there, but you know, just to spice it up and make it a little bit better. And I like it.
Well, fishing's all about like one of the things that really captivates me with fishing is every time you go out there, there's a whole host of issues that you're trying to
Hmm.
solve. So
Hmm.
and those are always changing. So if you go out this time, you know the grass might be crazy, or you go out this time and it's a lot shallower than it normally is, or you go out this time you have incredible wind, you know. So or these bass are holding really tight to A, B, or C. You know, so you're
right,
always faced with issues that you have to problem solve to be able to get and present your lure where it needs to be. And then on top of that, you have pressure and that kind of stuff. So you have it can't be the same old every time. You got to make it a little bit different to really have a lot of fun. And especially when you do something really different, and then you have success with it, man. I really find enjoyment in that. And
yeah.
I would say to all your viewers, and this might not be good for my lure company, but regardless, don't get so in the mindset of there's always a special lure. While certain lures do have qualities that may help in certain situations, may draw more fish to you or whatever, I would definitely encourage the viewers to really get almost more addicted to terminal tackle and learning how to use terminal tackle, whether it's a blade or a certain type of hook or a certain type of weight, or all types of different things that you can take an ordinary bait and make it extraordinary. I could take a Senko and put it on this rig or add this to it or that to it, and I can make it something nobody else is throwing. I'm still using a Senko, or whatever, but I've done something to it that makes it unique. And when you do that, and I have a Plano box full of metal pieces, lead pieces, hooks, different types of hooks, different types of weights, even just straight metal that I can bend, to make something while I'm there, And some of those you can come up with a design that nobody's doing, and heck, you never know. You might start a lure company. You never know.
Well, somebody's wife said that you're a tinkering fool, so I'll just kind of leave it at that.
Yeah, I see her comment. She can't be trusted. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I kind of do some crazy stuff out there too. In fact, I like to take old techniques and even some new techniques and put my own twist on it. But there's one time I done something on a drop shot and Colin was like, "Well, you ain't gonna catch no fish with that." I said, "Well, you don't know if you don't try." And in my mind, I'm thinking, all right, now this is a challenge.
Yeah, now I got
you. But I've always done that though. I've always wanted to think outside the box and just to see if it works. If it don't work, then it don't work. I ain't got, I'm not, the only thing I've lost is time.
Right.
But I'm not going to be satisfied until I do it because I'm just that type of person. And, and sometimes it just kills people, but I got to. It's just, I've got to, because I got to see.
And I'll tell you, Jared, my mindset on, and it's funny that he says that, because my mindset on it is, if I can get him to where he's tinkering with stuff and he's throwing something crazy and I throw that saying like, you're not going to do something. I've known Pappy for what? Well, I've known you longer than 3 years, but we've been riding together at McKee for 3 years. And I know just his mentality. If you say you're not going to catch nothing on it's going to that's going to spark a fire. Well, in the back of my mind, I'm like, all right, I hope to goodness that he doesn't start catching fish on this thing. And at least that's either one that's going to either help me to be able to where I'm going to put more fish in the boat than him. That's what my mindset is like, I'm just about to just melee some fish on him. But there has been times especially with that drop shot deal, that what he was doing with that, it came back and bit me in the butt. So
yeah, it sounds to me like you're trying to distract him so that there's more fish for you, is what it sounds like.
Yeah. That's all he's trying to do. But I totally get what you're saying. It's but you've always got to be thinking outside the box. you got to stay ahead of the fish and ahead of the competition out there.
Yeah.
And if you've got that creative mind and that good vision, whether it works or not, you won't know until you try it. And
Right.
that's the biggest thing for me. You don't know until you try.
Well, the thing is, it's kind of I used to fish tournaments quite a bit, and
Mhm.
it was kind of a double-edged sword because like I would be out there and I would be in an area where I knew there was fish and I knew they were feeding, but they weren't eating whatever I was throwing, and that just killed me inside. Like I had to figure out how to get those fish to eat, and sometimes I'd waste hours.
Mhm.
That's not good for a tournament angler,
Nah.
So, tournament angler, you got to figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when it's tournament time, you better be
Yeah.
focused. Better know what you're doing. Yeah, that would
Right.
burn a day for me. And that's one reason why I kind of put tournament angling to the side, and I got back into really doing what I love about fishing, what got me into fishing, which was the exploration, being out there in God's creation, and then also problem solving, and just it was more about the competition between me and the fish, and
Right.
that's kind of what really captivated me, and while it's there's nothing more than exciting than getting catching really good when you're in a tournament, and
Yeah.
knowing that you might win it. That'll get your heart pounding. That's super exciting. But there's also the pressure to try to do that each time, and the stress that comes with it also kind of took me away from the stuff that I really started or I really liked fishing, why I got into fishing to begin with. So that was a big turning point in my fishing career, if you want to call it that. Like I guess it's becoming that now, but that was a big turning point. Was real getting back to what I remember loving about the sport, and
Mhm.
Yeah.
so that tinkering part of that's all about that's getting right back to that. Even
Yeah, exactly.
before I did that, but
Yeah. Well, and I guess the best way to explain it for people that might be just getting into fishing or even the older hands is you take a traditional way of to fish, how, a certain technique and, and that's what I love about fishing is because you can take that traditional way, a Texas rig on a 5-inch Cinco or 6-inch Cinco or whatever, and just do something different with it,
yeah,
split the
Yeah.
tail, or whatever, peg it. Well, that ain't really, that's about traditional, but you just do something different to it, and it that's what kind of sparks everything for me. Because I've been on the boat with Colin and my brother, and my brother, he's so hard headed like me, and when you get us two on the boat, he's like, well, this is how you need to do it. And then on my end, I'm like, well, why do I got to do it like that? What if I want to do it a different way, but use the same technique, but just do it a different way?
all right,
Then that's when that whole, well, you ain't going to catch nothing, or it ain't going to work or something. Then it just starts a whole domino effect for me.
yeah,
Then I'm done then. Cause then I'm going to do everything I can to prove you wrong. But
yeah.
not, that's just that innovative. I'm going to say that's just the fisherman in us, outdoorsman or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
there's some kind of there's something in each one of us that has to make something our own. I'm
mhm,
all about somebody showing me. In fact, a lot of times I'll go out and people might get you know it's funny because I go out with people like Billy or I go out with Dylan or something like that, and I'll be asking questions. I'll be doing that
mhm,
kind of because I'm wanting to get that information, and it's not that I'm going to copy your technique. It's that I want that foundation to then branch off and do my own thing, bring my own flavor,
exactly.
and
Yeah.
that's what makes fishing so special. Is because there's no absolute way that you have to do anything. So
Mhm,
you can always personalize it, and
mhm,
yeah, I mean, and the making lures now is just brought that to an entirely new level. I've always been making
I
lure
can imagine.
stuff, but it's probably one of the most enjoyable things to not only make a lure that catches fish, but then be able to give it or have other people use it and watch them catch fish and the excitement that it brings. I mean, it's I just posted a video on flipping the script fishing of a guy down in South Texas. Loves the frog and catches this giant bass, and he's like just beside himself. He catches this bass, he's holding it up. He's like, I don't even know how big this thing is. And, he kind of shows it, and it's got the frog hanging out of its mouth. Man, I tell you what, that is close to doing it yourself. And it's when you have people all over the country sending you pictures and stuff. Oh, it's nothing like it. It's a lot of fun.
Right. Well,
let me pick your brain real quick, and I'm sorry, Colin. I gotta ask this before I. So being that having that creative mind and being a lure maker.
Mm-hmm.
So do you when you start the process, do you envision how you want to set up that lure and how it's going to react in the water, coming through the water and maybe bumping something or anything like that? Do you envision that, and you just kind of go off of that, or how does that?
It happens in a lot of different ways. It could be that I see something, a lure, or a technique, and then I something just comes to me that I could do that better, or I could change it up like this, and or it could just be like what I was talking about earlier. You're encountered with a problem, and then so all of a sudden your mind starts thinking, all right, well, how can we solve that problem? Or what would be really good in this situation, or that situation? Or I tell you, with the frogs, I've been a frogging fanatic for a while. So I have a box full of frogs, and it's not that I have hundreds of one frog, and I have like a box that I have one of every kind of frog, like different lure. Like I probably have 15 different brands of frogs. And because I love the little nuances of each one, and not only that, but I was encountered with the issue that this frog's really durable, but the hookup ratio is terrible. This frog's hookup ratio is great, but it's not durable, or this one sinks, but it does this or that. Well, so all the frogs had strengths, but they also had a lot of weaknesses. So then when the opportunity presented itself for me to be able to design a frog, I was able to design out all the flaws that the other ones had. So I was able to really check all the boxes that I wanted to check to have a frog that would work right out of the package. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to modify. You don't have to boil it. None of that nonsense. No bending the hooks up. Nothing like that. I wanted a frog that would hook up, have a really good hookup ratio. You could retrieve it multiple different ways. Was durable. And just like I said, it checked all the boxes that I had this huge collection of frogs that checked certain boxes, but not others. I wanted one that checked all the boxes, period. So that was what really got me going there. But to your question, like it really depends on there is now that I am going on the business side of it, there is a component of like for instance, we had frogs. Frogs are warm weather lures. They're not typically known for cold weather lure. So if I wanted to have a business, I need to come up with something that's going to be good in the cold, right? So and that was the birth of the Snatchin Shad. We also launched the Jonah 117, which is our jerk bait. But with each one of those things, I wanted to do something just a little bit different. There's always a hole in the that category that's not being well filled. With jerk baits, the limitation with jerk baits, unless you modified it yourself, was that they float or suspended. So if you saw a fish 30 foot deep, unless I do something to my lure, I'm not getting it down there.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, our Jonah, our jerkbait sinks. It's a slow sinking jerkbait, but it sinks, so you can get it down there, and you can get it fish at any depth. So it's in that case, I was trying to fill a need that I had as an angler, so I'm sure other people had as well.
Right. I was about to say, just if there's a need that you have, there's somebody else that's going to have that same exact need.
Exactly.
Oh, absolutely.
That's
Colt?
what they say. Shoot, I can't think of the thing. It's something that basically the mother of invention is a necessity or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, that's the same thing with fishing lures.
Yeah. Colt has a question. Says, when designing baits, how do you come up with colors, or do you go with just your typical normal like shad colors with it? And so I guess he's just asking, how do you come up with the colors for your baits?
Great question.
So there's multiple things you take in consideration, right? The biggest thing right off the bat is, okay, well, am I trying to mimic something, right? With the frogs, I'm under the belief that most of the time the bass don't actually think it's a frog, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with that thought, okay, well, what else do they think it is? All right, well, let's make it look like that. In this case, they might think it's a brim, or this case, they might think it's a shad. This case, they might think it's a bird. So those right there are ideas for colors and patterns and that kind of thing. So that's one component. And then the other component is what looks cool. If I think a lure looks cool, I'm going to have more confidence to throw it and to really put some effort into it. And that right there, confidence in what you're throwing really makes a big difference. So if you believe that this is a color that fish is going to eat, then there's a good chance he's going to eat it. Or if you really believe it looks like A, B, or C, it looks like this fish, or it looks like this bird, or whatever, and you think that's what that fish is looking for, then you're going to really adequately fish it, and therefore you're more likely to get bites.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny that you say that, because like I've got a couple of your frogs here. Let's see if I can get it to. I think I'll have to probably take them out.
Too far from the camera, Colin.
And these two, I've got these two right here. My opinion, and this is just strictly my opinion, when it comes to frogs, these are the two colors that you need on your boat. You need a white and a black. And I'll say this, before I started throwing your frogs, like I had the same mindset of like, all right, I want something that is going to be a soft body, right? Because I want them to be able to bite down on it and that hook expose. And so, but with some of the bigger name companies and stuff, with having that soft body, still the hooks are still kind of pointed down. So you're having to adjust those hooks. And I really did not like having to adjust the hooks because I'm weakening that hook.
Right.
Is my mindset. But then when I got got some of your frogs and I don't know how many I ended up getting, but these are the colors. I mean, I always got, because in my mind is like, all right, this is the only two colors that I really need, in which I've got one that's hanging up on the wall that's a red, and then I've got one that looks like a bluegill. It's got kind of glitter and stuff on it that I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes down to like, I want to go do some frog fishing, these are the two colors that I'm pulling out. It depends on really kind of what that day offers me, if I'm going to have to throw a white, if I'm going to have to throw a black. But one thing that I really noticed about yours, your frogs, is I've got that soft body. So when they hit it and they chomp down on it, that body's coming down, and both of those hooks are exposed up over. And another thing is, and how I look at it, like I'll look at the body like this and I'll see, all right, is this hook coming up over this eye? To where you tie it up, because then that's where you're going to be getting your best hookup, is once those hooks, and that's on any kind of bait, is if you do not want the line tie to be up above that hook. And so, but I was like, all right, it's got a soft body. It's what I like. The hooks are how I like it. Now let's see how many fish I can catch off of this thing before this thing tears up. And usually, I'm not saying that I have not ever torn up one of your frogs, because I have had a day that where I've just smashed fish on your frogs, and eventually, I mean, it's plastic, but I have definitely, usually when you catch frogs and they got that soft body, that where the hooks come out, that hole just keeps on getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and they don't hold up, and they start taking in a lot of water. So after every cast, you're having to squeeze them out and get that water out to be able to get them to float how you want them to float. And so that was the two things that I really noticed the first time that I took them out, is the durability, and and that it was a soft body, but the hooks were up over your line tie. And with that hook being up over that line tie, you're going to have a better hookup ratio.
Yeah, so there's a couple things that that definitely, and I did study some engineering and that kind of stuff in college. Now, that did help me some. Now, obviously, it's just if you have an issue in fishing, I try to get very analytical about it. Okay, why is this happening? Blah blah blah. How can we fix that? Now, so when it comes to the hookup ratio, there's multiple things that get in the way of a good hookup. One is just the placement of those hooks. You want those hooks right there. You want them. So the body barely has to depress to get a point, right? Yeah. And obvious, and so that's one main thing. That's a very obvious one, right? Two is you want that body to be able to press very quickly, right? If that bass bites it and that air can't escape that body's not depressing, so you're not getting a good hook. You might get a skin hook, but you're gonna, a big fish is gonna pull free. It's why, that's why big fish, you lose big fish more often than not, is because you just have them skin hooked, and they have the strength to go ahead and pull that hook through the skin. But there's a couple other things that and people don't realize this, and so if your hooks flex, if your hooks aren't super rigid, if you can go easily bend those hooks, then those hooks you're not going to drive a good point into that fish. Yeah. So you want a really stiff hook, okay? So you really don't want a hook that you can easily bend. If you can easily bend that hook, then you're going to miss a lot of fish. You want to be able, when you have 65-pound braid and you're driving that hook, you want that hook integrity to be able to stay true, so it penetrates and doesn't flex or to miss the meat of that fish. Yeah, that's another thing. So we do have with that gasket right there, right? So that keeps the water out, but lets the air escape real fast. Yeah. That gasket also acts as a binder for those hooks, so they don't flex out too much. Not to mention the actual bend of the hook itself is a super strong hook, so that point's not going to also flex. You don't want that to happen either. The other thing is that we engineered in this is you notice on the nose there's a hinge in here. Okay, so
Mhm.
with that hinge, when I go to set this hook, it doesn't matter what angle that fish has, because a lot of times if that bass grabs this frog and turns, which they're almost always going to do, and you go to set that hook, if you don't have a hinge in there, you're going to pull that hook, outright or straight, and then you're still only gonna skin hook that fish. So a lot of times that fish will again pull free. Or you ever have that time where you hook it into a fish and you think you got it good, and all of a sudden that frog comes flying out at you? Well,
Yeah.
Mhm.
that's because you barely got that frog or that fish with those hooks. With this, that fish might grab this and turn, and then that hinge will allow you to still drive a really good hook into that fish, and you'll get more meat of that fish. So you're going to land a lot more of those big bass that grab it. So there's a lot of things that go
But
into something like that to get a good drive a good hook into those fish. That makes a big difference. The last thing I want to mention is you're almost right with colors. Black and white is extremely important, but I'm telling you, and if you haven't thrown it, you need to, because you will notice a difference. These glitter patterns make a big
well,
difference.
that's what I got. I got one right there, and I think I got that because you told me you're like because I had I think I've got like two or three of each of the colors on my wall right there of just the black and whites, and you had told me you need to get this, and I think that's the reason why I got it, and I have it hanging up. And I hate to tell you this, but I have not thrown it because I've been throwing these two.
I'm
But
telling you, man, I've had more days than not. Like, I'll be out there, and not to say I wouldn't ever catch one on a white or black, but I've been
yeah,
out there sometimes, and I'll go from getting a couple bites on a white or black, and then I'll put a glitter pattern on, and I go to catching very well. So typically a rule of thumb, okay, when it's cloudy and rainy, I like those bright colors. Okay, I'll go with your
yeah,
whites. The white or bubble gum or a cantaloupe color. Let me show you a couple. So your cantaloupe, it's a bright color, orange.
yeah,
Solid bright color. And when it's clear, sunny, obviously clear and sunny. But calm. I like those black ones. Okay, those really black colors. You got your midnight, and this one is a new one. This is called Meteor. It's just got a little bit of shine on there. Because anytime you have
yeah. I was like,
that those flecks really, they act like a beacon. They kind of shine a bit. Um,
yeah,
but when it's still out, I go with just more a dark color that's just a good silhouette. Um, but in between there, like when it's partly cloudy, you got a little bit of chop on the water. I'm telling you, these glitter patterns, this is our stranded shad. You can see how much that's shining right now, right?
oh yeah,
You put
Mhm.
that on the surface and you got a little chop and this thing is rolling up there. It's like a disco ball up there, man. It's like it looks like it really does. It looks like fish scales, but it looks like an injured fish just up there on the surface of the water, and it will get strikes in those partly cloudy conditions. When you have some sunshine and a little bit of chop on that water, those glitter patterns make a big difference. Big difference.
yeah. That's and I guess it's just because I grew up, and I mean, and I guess you can kind of tell especially with you being in like the bait business and stuff. You can you can tell what kind of how the person grew up or and stuff like that of what colors they pick, and because I mean, because this is all that we were told, growing up was the black
Mhm.
and white. That's what we were told, and um, and I believe and that I mean, because the fish don't see what's on the top, and
No.
so if I have, let's say, 10 frogs that have a white belly, but they have multiple colors on top and stuff like that. In my mind, I just got ten white frogs
Yeah. No, you're right.
because that's what the fish sees.
Hmm.
And same thing with the black. And so that's the reason why I don't I don't go towards, and I think that with being a and I understand why bait companies make uh so many different colors and stuff, because I think they do it just like what you had said earlier. I mean, if I like that color, I think that color, like, you're like, all right, if I was a fish, I would hit that color.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the bait companies make baits to be able to, one, just to catch the eye of the angler.
Yeah.
And but I really do need to try that the one that's got the glitter on it.
So there,
So
you had a couple points that the bass sees the belly and maybe a
yeah,
little bit of the sides. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
so and you'll notice, and that's how you can tell when a frog was made by producers or a people that don't fish, or a
yeah,
frog was made by somebody who fishes. Okay, so what you'll notice with copper red baits is all these colors. The bellies, well, I'm dropping them all over the place now, but all the bellies are different, right?
yeah,
Because that's what the fish sees, right? Um,
right,
the thing is, you know, under certain circumstances, if you're fishing on a heavy mat, it doesn't matter the color. The fish don't see it. They're acting on the motion. So
Yeah.
they see the motion of that's happening up there, and they'll eat and they'll attack the motion. Um, but there are times when you have a little bit more sparse vegetation, and it depends on the water clarity. If you have muddy water, it doesn't matter either. I don't think. I think you just want to be able to see it. So you can go with a bright color or a dark color.
yeah,
Um, but a lot of times, and around grass, you know this to be true, that grass filters that water. So sometimes you have the clearest water in the lake around
yeah,
that grass. And they absolutely see those colors. And sometimes they're keyed in on a certain color. Like late summer, for instance. Late summer, the crawfish get up in that grass and they will get like a bright red in them. And
Mm-hmm.
so you have, and I don't know if you remember this past year, Dylan and the Wishing I Was Fishing guys, they were throwing at that magma color and catching really well. Well, there's a
yeah,
reason for that. Is because that magma, this is a Rayburn red, but that magma is a red pattern as well. So if they're keyed in on red, and then they see that red, sometimes it doesn't matter what the red's doing. It doesn't matter if it's moving. Doesn't matter anything. They'll just hit it. Um, the so if they're keyed in on crayfish or they're doing the shad spawn, you throw something white or something silver up there, they are keyed in on that silver. They're going to eat it. Like I
yeah,
threw a white. I was out there fishing the other day. I threw a white one over there. I didn't move the thing. It just hit the water and boom, bass nailed it. It's because it was keyed in on the shad spawn, and
yeah,
so the a lot of times you have to figure out some of those little nuances. They might be keyed in on a color. They might be keyed in on a sound. Might be keyed in on a vibration, a particular motion. Those little nuances can make a big difference in catching fish or not catching
yeah,
fish.
Okay.
yeah,
So I got, yeah, I see here you got, or I know, you got, or let me back up a minute. You got three different types of frogs. You got the wave, the ripple, and the loudmouth.
Four
Oh,
total.
there's four. Okay, my bad. Four. So can you
that's
can you tell
Tsunami.
it? Yeah. Can you just kind of go briefly over the four that
Yeah.
you have, real quick?
Yeah, so our standard frog is called the wave frog, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you'll notice it has a little cup right here. It's really good for heavy cover. Come through that heavy cover real well, but it has a little cup there, so you still get that spitting action like you would on a popping frog. Maybe a little bit more subtle, but it still comes through that heavy cover really well. Okay, so that's our
Right.
standard size, a 2.5-inch frog. It's 9/16 ounces. Then with a play on the words, okay? So remember, that's the wave frog. Let me grab these real quick. That's the wave frog. So now we also have a little version. So the little version of the wave frog is a small wave is a ripple. That's your little 2-inch model. And you see the size difference there. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a bit smaller. It's 2 inches and a 1/4 ounce. Sometimes, like I was talking about, fish keying in on something. Sometimes they're keyed in on small size, and it can make all the difference in the world. Just throwing something a little bit smaller. Okay, so that's the ripple frog. Yeah, ripple frog, wave frog, and then but it's the same design. It's got just basically exactly the same, just smaller. Okay.
Just small, yeah.
Then you have the tsunami frog. A big wave is a tsunami, right? It's amazing how many people they said they never get that. But anyway, that's your big frog. That's a 3.5 inch, 1 ounce
That's a frog.
That's a big old frog. So that's the way beside the wave frog, and of course beside the ripple frog. Okay.
Yeah.
So same design. It's got a little bit deeper cup, but same design, but it's got 6/0 hooks, big weight. So if you're down in Gunnersville and you have a 100-yard mat, I can toss this thing and cover most of it. But this is when you're tired of catching 2-pounders or 1-pounders and you only want that 4-pounder, right? This will call that big fish out of there. If I pull up to a mat and I don't want to ruin the mat with catching a little dink out of it, I only want to catch the big one out of it, I'll throw the tsunami frog first. All right, so our fourth model is called the Wave Frog Loudmouth Edition. So Wave Frog is your standard size, right? So here's your standard size, exactly the same size and weight, but it has an exaggerated mouth. So it's more of a popping bird, okay? And it with the eye tie being on the top of that cup, it actually allows it to come over cover very well for a popping frog. It doesn't. If vegetation gets caught up on that cup, it will actually tip forward and it will come off, and it won't ruin your whole retrieve. So this is I actually am partial to the Loudmouth edition. If I get away with it, this is what I'm throwing.
Well, see, that's what I was wondering. That's the one I was really interested in. Was that one? That's a unique design. I mean, I guess you can do kind of multiple things with that, correct?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if the grass isn't just super thick, and you have to do something to get through that thick stuff.
Yeah,
If I can get through it, and this is a new June bug color. If I can get through it, I'm throwing this one because it has and you're not going to find an easier walking frog on the market. This thing will walk better than anything. The wave frog actually has a bit of a glide. When you walk it back and forth, it kind of glides back and forth like a spook. This one's got a little bit of a tighter action to it because that big cup will stop it from moving forward. But I mean, it's got a great walk, and you can chug it along if you want. You can walk it tight. You can do a little bit of a glide walk. You can do a lot of different things with it.
But we got a couple questions. Let's see. Roy says, I'm new to throwing topwater and using a frog. But I do not know how to set up a frog and what to use with it. And do you trim the skirt product on the frog?
Yes. So typically this is about what mine looks like. Okay, so you can see this one's been trimmed. So this is one that hasn't been trimmed. Okay, I leave them long like that so you can do what you want with it, right? But typically I'll trim one just a little bit longer than the other. It makes it even a little bit easier to walk. But if I can, the reason I do that is because I don't want short strikes. Sometimes you get them to short, they'll strike the legs and they'll put the frog down. If they swirl at my frog and miss it, then I can keep it there and I can slowly slowly retrieve it and they'll come back and eat it. But if they grab the legs and pull it under, I think he has it, and then I'm gonna set the hook, and obviously I'm going to miss that fish. So I trim the skirt for that reason. Some people prefer not to. That's fine. Now a setup, if you want to get into frogging, there's a couple things that are super important. Okay. One, you need to have a rod that has some backbone to it. Okay. You want a decent tip on it. Okay, so a heavy, fast action is good. Heavy action, heavy fast is a good one. I usually like to go Probably about 7.3 is probably the shortest I'll go with the rod. I like to go all the way up to 7.5 or 7.6. Um, for the reason being, one, I can really launch it, so I can get it way into that grass mat where other people may not be getting it in there. And two, I have the leverage to get it back out again. So if I have
Yeah.
that 75-yard cast and a bass grabs it right at the end, yeah, it's going to be a workout, but I can still drive a hook, okay?
Yeah.
Only if I have braided line.
Yeah.
That braided line, if you're not fishing with braided line and you're fishing around grass, you're making a mistake. Because that monofilament won't do it. You can rear back all you want to, and with the added weight of grass, and you're just not going to drive a hook. The biggest thing you want to remember is when that bass comes up, grabs that frog, and moves down. Now I have a bend in my line. So I have to be able to cut through there to drive a hook. That monofilament stretches too much. You'll never get it in there. Fluorocarbon's not strong enough. You're going to end up breaking off or having to have, a huge diameter or something like that. If you have to have braided line.
Yeah.
Now, if you're fishing some open water, then you might be able to get away with something else. But
Yeah.
typically what I've found is this is such a decent size offering that's putting so much commotion on the water that they don't even notice the braided line. I'll throw it in open water and they don't seem to notice it at all.
Yeah.
So and then the last thing, so you have that bigger rod, that heftier rod, the braided line, and I like 65-pound braided line. I might do 6 or 50, but most of the time it's 65. If I'm throwing it on a spinning rod, and sometimes I'll do that with the ripple frogs, I'll have 30-pound braided line for the spinning rods.
Well,
But
that was John had an answer or had a question. What pound line for the ripple frog do you use? And so he
so
just answered it for you.
well, when I use it on a spinning rod, I'll put it on 30. But I made these heavy enough and put a big enough hook in them that you can still fish these on heavy gear. I'll still throw these on 65-pound braid on my maxed out frogging rod. So if I'm down on Gunnersville around the Primrose, late in the year, early in the year, they really like this little ripple frog on Gunnersville. I'll throw it on that heavy gear. So you can still throw this. I can still throw this 45 yards. And
I was going to say with the size of it and being on a heavy rod, how does it throw? Are you still able to have that good long cast like what you're wanting when you're throwing a frog?
Compared to other little frogs, there isn't a like it throws much better than other little frogs. Now, compared to your wave frog, you're not going to get as much difference, but it's not that significant. It's maybe 10 less yards. Now the Tsunami frog, there's a difference because it's a full ounce.
It's an ounce.
Yeah. So I'm throwing
that thing's a weight.
Yeah, exactly. So but it's still, for a little frog, you're able to throw it much further than you typically would a small frog, and this, if you'll notice, this still got a decent size hook in it. Okay, so I forced the biggest hook I could into this little frog, so you still get a lot of meat of that fish. And without sinking it. So I've thought of everything I could with these. Having a frog that doesn't sink on you is really important. So I can still take a little ripple frog, cast it out there, and twitch it and let it sit. Twitch it, let it sit, and I don't have to worry about sinking on my cast. Most frogs, you might get it halfway back to the boat before it sinks. And that's not the case with ours.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I enjoy talking to you about, because just the little nuances and stuff that you do. And I just love talking about baits in general, and then to talk to somebody that that actually took the time to be able to design this for a purpose. Instead of just going and just like kind of like what you said, that you're not just going out there just to put frogs out, just to put frogs out.
Right.
You took the time and with designing, going, taking it out, throwing it, and seeing how fish are reacting to it and stuff like that, and just to kind of to see and just how your mind is going. I would love to be able to to be on the boat with you when you're actually like prototyping something, because I want to see. I just like seeing how people's mind works on that, and that's one way how I could be able to see, and just seeing how you do things is very technical. I guess you say it will be the proper word on figuring out and wishing you've been doing this long enough to kind of you have a system down for it. And but to see when you've gone from this to your Snatchin Shad and stuff, that to kind of to see how that transition over. And so, but I do want to talk about the Snatchin Shad, because this past winter, I don't know. I have a box full of Snatchin Shad just because I like them, and I caught a bunch of fish just off of that Snatchin Shad, and I can't remember what color. It was like a smoke it's almost like a shad with a smoke kind of color looking to it. And
this one?
Yep, that is it.
Yeah, that's a threadfin color. Yeah, so first and foremost, I make lures to catch fish, period. The design aspects and the sales aspects are secondary. Maybe they shouldn't be, but whatever. We're doing good so far. So,
right.
I use these lures, so they better catch fish, So, you know, and if I go out there and I can't catch a fish on it, well, chances are I'm not going to produce the lure. So, because I want to catch fish on them. But
Right.
yeah, so the Snatchin Shad, that one is that one came out last year, and it did take a little bit of time for people to give it a try, which was frustrating because I knew what I was sitting on, and I knew how good it was. And finally this year, people started really picking it up, and man, I got pictures of so many 8+ pounders caught on that thing. I got picture a guy went out, caught a 10 and 11 on the same day on that royal purple color. But I'm getting incredible pictures. So I don't know if you all remember, but the Seville was a company that was bought up by Berkeley, or I think
Berkeley, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think Berkeley bought them up. But they used to make a lure called the flat shad, and it was a lipless crankbait that was incredible, and it was my favorite lipless. Well, they discontinued it, and broke my heart as a result. And I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll just go ahead and I'll make my own. And while we did make significant changes, I like I said with before about this or that, I'm always going to find out or figure out what I can do just a little bit better, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was the case with this one, but we stuck with some of the things that really worked with it. That flat body shape was something that I really liked. We actually tried to make ours just a little bit thinner, so it had when you pull it through the water, it really thumps, and you can attest to that, Colin.
Yeah. Well, that was one thing that the first time that, like, when I get a lipless crankbait and stuff, or let's say crankbait in general, like my first cast is I'm bombing that sucker out and I'm burning it back. It's not that I'm trying to catch a fish. I just want to get a feel of how that crankbait is coming through.
Yeah.
And so my question for you on that is like, how did you come up with it? Because like it don't matter like how fast that I'm burning that through, because
Stays true.
wintertime that wintertime I do something a little different than what a lot of people do. Is I'll make that bomb cast, but then I'm burnt. I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, pause. 1, 2, 3, 4, pause, and I'm getting it, and um, and that your crankbait just, it seems like that it starts up. As soon as I start trying to crank up on it, and it don't really have to be that where I'm doing fast, but it picks up the vibration is pretty much instantly.
Yeah.
And so how did you do the design, to where it is running so true? Because, sometimes like on other crankbaits and stuff, especially when you're burning it, like it tries to come the belly rolls a little bit.
Yeah.
And with how yours is designed, is it because of how slender it is that it's just keeping it to where it's running true like that?
That slender body really does help with that, right? And
Yeah.
obviously the design and the symmetry needs to be on point. And that's what something
Right.
I really love about ours is it runs true. You can burn this thing as fast as you want to go with it, and it stays true.
Yeah.
It needs to be symmetrical, and it needs to be well balanced. And ours has that. We hit a home run with that, and of course you can see me getting these hooks stuck on my fingers. Like we paired it up with perfect hooks. These are the BKK extra wide gap, short shank, extra strong hooks. You'll notice. This is the silent one. It's got that oil and that glitter in it. If you guys hadn't seen that,
Yeah.
but this thing will stand up for you on bottom. Kind of like a shaky head would, and but you'll also notice if I'm pulling it across the bottom, those hooks being short shank are important because it's not going to hang up on the bottom.
Yeah.
So you have different little things like that make all the difference in the world. You can pull this out of the package and throw it. You don't have to modify it. You don't have to change the hooks out. Now, I know some people like to put the J hooks and that kind of thing on it. That's fine. But you can fish this adequately right out of the box. As far as when we first got the prototype, it was burning out, and you crank it and it would burn out. So we did have to do some honing to get it to where it would run true. And a lot of it was just, shaping that body just right, and making sure that weight inside the body was placed right. It being directly across from the line tie there. If it's up forward or back too far, a lot of times that will also cause it to burn out. But it being perfectly balanced like that across from the eye tie, it won't do that. So, there's some different things that we had to manipulate and modify. We also trimmed the body down. The Snatchin Shad had a lot more on the tail of it, which would cause it to fall over. It wouldn't stand up for you on bottom like ours does. And their weights were just a little bit different. So, while it was a great lipless crankbait, there were some minor things that needed to be tweaked on it, and we were able to do that. It's a fish catching machine right there. We had that silent one and the rattling one. So it's we also have a 3/4 ounce. I don't know if you saw those or not, but the 3/4 ounce are exactly the same size, but heavier. So you can adequately fish them deeper. A lot of times when you have a 3/4 ounce, it's a bigger size body, so that causes more drag in the water, and it still makes it come up in the column. Whereas if you have the same size body with heavier weight, then you don't have that resistance, and that extra weight actually makes a difference. So it will actually, you can slow roll it in 10 to 15 foot of water instead of it rising up to 5 foot of water.
Well, and you said something, because I was going to ask, because like I like to yo-yo a lipless crankbait.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what it was, and I think you just answered it without even knowing that I was going to ask this, because I had noticed, that when I yo-yoed, especially like when it's cold, like I'll yo-yo it up and let it sit. and then yo-yo it up, and I'll then let it sit. And I would notice that, like, I would normally, like, if they're catching it like on the fall, like they'll take it and you'll see that line run. But like I was noticing that like it would yo-yo and it seemed like it hit the bottom, but then when I go to yo-yo it back up, I would have that weight, and it's just like it was just on the bottom, and they just kind of just picked it up and they were right there. They had no reason to move with it.
Yeah.
And so, and I guess, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I guess with it being to where it nose down like that, that is the reason why they just kind of just picked it up right there and not really moved on with it.
Yeah, they might, if it's sitting there on the bottom, of course you have that other hook kind of sitting up there, and they just suck it, just kind of mouth it or something. They suck that in, and then you go to move it. Well, you're hanging into that fish. But yeah, I mean, a lot of times in the winter time, you have to make that fish bite. They're not really feeding. They're just, they're curious. Or you get that reaction with that falling right in front of their face, and they just react to that motion. A lot of people give that analogy of laser with a cat. Same idea. It moves and it chases. It's the same reason why when you burn it real fast and then kill it, and burn it real fast and kill it, the same thing.
Because you're triggering that natural instinct is how I think about it, is that their natural instinct is if something's there and it's like a nuisance or something like that or whatever, something's in their way and it just pops up, stops, their natural instinct is they may not even be hungry. Their natural instinct is to just get rid of it, and I have caught so many fish over the years doing that. And
they're opportunistic they're opportunistic feeders. So a lot of times,
right.
If they have to make that choice, okay, I either have to eat it now or it's going to be gone. I won't have that chance here in a minute. Then a lot of times they'll just eat it, or So you're like you're saying earlier, you're tapping into that survival instinct that they that they have to survive. I mean, it's what keeps them going from day to day,
Yeah. And so, and all we look for is just one dumb fish.
Right. Or 5 anyway.
Right. So, Happy, you got anything?
Man, no, I'm soaking it in is what I'm doing. I'm thinking I'm fixing to go broke.
Yeah. Well, so
we do have we have that silent one that has that rattle in it, or not the rattle, the oil and the glitter. We do have a good rattling one with multiple beads in it, and I am working on a 2-tap. So you see it here for the first time, and I'm hoping we'll have it if I get it out of the bag. So we'll have a 2-tap. This is a prototype here that hopefully we can get it dialed in, and hopefully launch this come November.
Oh, heck yeah.
But yeah, just got that one bead inside. I got that little 2-tap in there. So we get that dialed in just right, then we'll have another option this winter. Of course, we do have that 3/4 ounce as well. Now that 3/4 ounce, I like to do it retrieve it 2 different ways. One, I like to go like against like a bluff wall or right behind the dam. I'll yo-yo it in 35 foot of water and catch them. The other thing is I'll just slow roll that thing into 10 or 12 foot of water in those really cold months. Those bass will just sit there in those cold months, and they will load up on. I put a video out this past year where my best 5 probably would have been 25 to 30 pounds, where I was just slow rolling it, and they were just. I tried everything else. And even a Nico rig, I was shaking a Nico rig and couldn't get them. And finally, I slow rolled this thing in about 12 foot of water, and they were just loading up on it. So we'll have some options with that Snatchin Shad.
Oh, heck yeah. Well, and one thing and I want to say, because we talk a lot on the podcast, and stuff, and we give perspective from a boat perspective because we're out in the boat 95% of the time.
Right.
We do walk the bank from time to time. But one thing that I really like about your content and stuff that you do is you have a lot of content to where you are walking the bank because and I had asked you this before because you have a boat and I was like, Jared, why aren't you doing like getting out on the boat and stuff like that? And you told me that like not everybody's going to have a boat.
Yeah.
But everybody can walk to get to the bank and be able to fish from the bank. And so, and that was one thing that I kind of want to hit on because you do a lot of your prototype testing and stuff from a boat, but you also do a lot of it from the bank as well, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, so that's where fishing began with me was from the bank, just like most of your viewers. Then I graduated to I went to a kayak to then a bass tracker. Now I have a Stratus, but yeah, I still love walking the bank. And in fact, I put a video out this past. We actually had a promo code on we were getting a deal on some waders. So I went out there and it was on Christmas Day. And I caught a bass with the ripple frog actually on Christmas Day, out there in Chester Frost. I just waded out there, found a little grass patch, and caught a bass on it. But yeah, I mean, I try to. Obviously there are some like the 3/4 ounce, for instance. Unless you're closer to deeper water, I wouldn't suggest throwing a 3/4 ounce Snatchin Shad.
No.
But the half ounce, even the difference between the rattling and the fluid filled one, the oil filled one, you can really very adequately fish it in shallow water. And I did a video on it this past winter where I was wading and I went into to shallow water. I was fishing it in maybe 3 foot of water and catching them.
Yeah.
I try my best to keep everybody in mind because I'm not just fishing for my boat all the time. I still like to get out, wade creeks and do stuff like that. I don't have as much time as I used to be able to do all those things, but I still do it from time to time.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, and I really like that when you had told me that because with us, I mean, we just go out there and make content. And the easiest thing for us to do is just set a camera up on the boat and just go.
Yeah.
And so we don't think of things like that. But then when you told me that like not everybody's going to have a boat, I was like, man, you're spot on.
Yeah,
you're spot on.
On those lake breakdown videos I do in flipping the script fishing on the YouTube channel. No. Like I if there's in a place, because what I try to do is I break down a section of the lake. So I might take Wolf Teever Creek or I might take Mud Creek. And then I'll always try to find a place that you can fish that area from the bank. And I try to take a minute and highlight that area for a moment, just so, my viewers know that I'm not just catering to the people that have boats,
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be plenty of the video that are areas that you can't fish from the bank. Sure. But
yeah.
I always try to highlight, hey, this area here, there's good bank access there, so you can get here and you can fish from the bank, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes I'll even take an extra day and go there and fish that place from the bank. On the Sail Creek, not the Sail Creek, the Saudi Creek lake breakdown, I did that. I went and I fished from the bank and caught a couple bass back in Saudi Lake, and then the rest of the video was me fishing from my boat in different places. So
I really enjoy it because nowadays, it's unless you go to like a state park or something like that, some places I know, like when we lived in Nashville, it seemed like we could go anywhere and be able to fish off the bank. But now how everything's kind of grown up, and especially here on Chickamauga, it is kind of hard to be able to fish from the bank, but it's very cool to be able to see how you are um, integrating bank fishing and the boat off a boat.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend all your viewers, if your viewers are trying to find, places to bank fish, utilize Google Earth. It's a great thing. You can just, take a picture with your iPhone or whatever, and then you scroll up and it shows Google Earth where you took the picture. Well, I could be driving down the road on I-75, for instance, and I see some water off in the distance, or maybe no water, and I just take a picture, and I can scroll up and then zoom out, and I can see all the different places, and I can zoom in, see if there's bank access, bridge pilings, things like that. So that's a really good way to find where to fish in your area.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, I don't want to forget. We do each week. We do salute to valor, and I do not want. Last week, I totally got oblivious with talking to the Nut Brothers and totally forgot. So, real quick, if we don't mind, take a second, Pappy, and let's do our salute to valor.
Yeah, so this week's salute to valor, our soldier specialist Randy Corbett. He was in the Marine Corps from '92 to '96. His MOS was a truck driver and an instructor, so he got to not only it was his job was to drive a truck, but he also taught all them young privates how to drive trucks. And well, that's a job in itself. He spent 4 years in the service, and he was also stationed over in Japan. So, Specialist Randy Corbett, hey, we salute you, brother. We thank you for all your time and service and everything that you've done for us to keep us safe. Because if it's not been for guys like you that paved the way before us and is currently in, we could not sit here and talk about fishing. I mean, we just absolutely couldn't be able to do it. So, thank you, all the men and women out there that keeps us safe and it keeps this thing rolling. We appreciate it from here at Deck Talk.
Yeah. So, thank you. So can we talk real quick, Jared, about was it Jonah 110?
117.
117, sorry.
Yep. No, you're fine. Yeah. So that's a jerk bait that we put together. All right, here we go. So we have 12 different colors, and it's a little bit smaller jerk bait. Okay, I found, for me personally, I seem to get more bites with just a little bit smaller jerk bait. Okay, so this was 100 millimeters as opposed to like a Vision 110, for instance. That's 110 millimeters.
Yeah.
So it's a 100. So it's a little bit smaller, but has a really good thin body shape, so you get a little bit of still got a little bit of thump to it. But I put a little bit stouter hooks on it. All right, so
are those? What kind of hooks are those?
So these are Kona wide Kona J bend. So they're they're a super strong hook, but they obviously you still want them to be very sticky hooks, right? So if a fish just swirls on it, they're still going to get hooked. That's one of the good things about mega bass is that their hooks are super sticky, but they're also really tiny and they break, so they bend out, they flex too much, and as a result, fish throw them, or they just break. So I wanted a little bit stouter hook so that you wouldn't have that issue. But we balanced it so it has a nice slow sink. You'll get a slow nose down sink. So it's not blurry, but you'll get a nose down sink just like this, and it will fall, right? And if you let this fall all the way to the bottom, it will actually stand up. Like it will hit bottom, it will sit like this. So it's not going to like fall down on its side and then get hung up. So there's been times where, bank fishing, for instance, where I'll go and I'll throw this and I'll just wait because it's a very slow sink. If you want to get down 30 foot, you got to wait a minute, right? So, but there's been times where I would go out, I'd cast this, I'd set my rod down, and I'd fish a shaky head for a cast. And then I'd put the shaky head down, and then by the time I was done with the shaky head, this would be sunk to the bottom, and then I'd retrieve this. but it also has a really good high return on the forward-facing sonar. So you got your forward-facing sonar guys really seem to like this, because if I see a fish suspended, 30 feet in front of me but 20 feet deep, I can throw this out there and wait a minute, and it will get down there to them. Not only that, but when I'm retrieving it, a lot of times you'll have followers, right? Now, if I have one that floats, a lot of times this will float. It would float out. Version. Or sometimes you'll have those fish, they'll follow it, and then they'll kind of just trail off, right? Well, this one, if you stop it, when they start doing that, you stop it, this thing will follow down with them. So little things like that can get you a little bit more bites. Dylan found this past year, and he caught the crap out of them with him and his clients. They caught a bunch of them with it. But it's a really good little jerk bait. It's just a straight fish catcher. I don't know if your viewers know or not, but that actually corresponded to a Bible verse. So to the first viewer that finds that Bible verse and tells us what it is in the comments, I'll send them one. So if they want to do that,
heck yeah. We'll see what it is, and we'll see who all comes up with it first. Your wife says that we have a desert storm frog in honor of military and donates proceeds to the Gary Sensi Foundation in their honor as well.
Yeah. I was thinking about that when you were giving that Valor thing. Yeah. So we have a desert storm frog. So this one is actually designed after the desert storm fatigues. And
oh man.
Yeah, so every one of these that we sell, we donate $1 to the Gary Sinise Foundation, and and not only that, but we also a lot of times we'll do the fishing with a soldier or whatever, and we'll donate some of these so they can each have one. But yeah, we're hoping to expand that this year to all the different services. So we want to have a frog that's a Navy pattern, frog that's an Army pattern, or frog that's a Marines pattern, and we'll do the same thing with all those. So those we'll be able to donate, and also the ones that we sell, we'll be able to donate $1 to the Gary Sinise Foundation.
Well, let's do this. And Pappy don't know that I'm fixing to do this, but Pappy and I will go in. And let's buy 5 to 10 of them, and let's do a giveaway with those frogs, Pappy.
I'm game. I'm game.
Well, you can't say no. We're live, so you gotta.
I can't say no anyway because I'm a vet. So
yeah.
Oh, cool deal.
Yeah.
So we'd be happy to be part of that, and we try to do what we can to show our veterans that we really appreciate the service that they've given to all of us to keep us free and be able to do what we love to do on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
But.
Yes.
So, Goosey, we're just out here. We're just on here, just talking about fishing, talking about copper red baits, and just just having fun, just talking fish and seeing what all that copper red baits has to offer, and just to kind of promote a good friend of the podcast, and so. That's what we're doing. So if you are, I take it with you coming on here that you are a fisherman. So check them out. The link is in the description, guys. All the social media and stuff for Jared is in the description. So make sure you go click that link and give him a follow if you're not following, and subscribe on YouTube. And send him a message and saying, hey, we seen you on Deck Talk Podcast. And so, but we do, I know we talked probably about 45, 50 minutes, Jared, though, but I tell you, I really love these frogs. and I know, for me, I mean, there ain't no telling. I probably got a half a tray full of your frogs just because I enjoy throwing them. But that Snatchin Shad, it really, this past winter really made me a believer on things, and because I believe that I was getting hits that I may not have gotten on any other, and I didn't know what it was until, and I think that uh, when you said that it stands up on its nose, kind of,
Yeah.
that's I really think that that's what was the reason why I was getting, because a lot of times that they will. He says he has one on his bait caster. Heck yeah! And so I think that's what with how it stands up, almost like a shaky head, to where it kind of just is in their face, and so. But
Yeah,
Pappy,
I think it just maintains that it's still alive and kicking fish, when it stands up
yeah,
on bottom there and doesn't just hit bottom and fall over. I think there's some fish that aren't smart enough to see that, but I think there are some fish that see that and they're like, "Hey, that's not natural." And but when you have that snatch and shad that will come through and then it kind of sits on the bottom like it's actually a bait fish trying to hide, on the bottom or whatever, and then it goes again. I think it plays the game the whole way through the retrieve, and
yeah.
I think that's why it gets a little bit more bites than your average lipless.
Heck yeah. Pappy, you got any questions?
No, I'm I know.
So,
I think
well,
I know I'm fixing to go broke. I know that. So
so
I'm just sitting here trying to figure out how I'm gonna pass all this. Tell my wife where all the money went. I mean,
so, but I mean, you can just tell her that you just had some fishing expenses. That's just
R&D,
and
we can.
yeah,
yeah,
that's right. That's
It's
right.
a write off for the channel,
right.
Right,
So,
right. Yeah.
well, we've had you on for an hour and a half, brother. We do have one last question. Pappy, you want to take it away, brother?
You got that one, brother.
All right. Well, Jared, if you could have one person on your boat, or let's just say out fishing for the day, that person can be with us or have passed away. Um, who would that person be, and why would you want them out fishing with you?
Well, one name came clear to me as soon as asked that question, and it to me it's a no brainer. It would be my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I mean, not only would it just be awesome to share the boat with him, but my goodness, hey, no, you need to cast over there. Who needs live scope when you got Jesus in the boat with
Hey,
you?
that's the original live scope.
Yeah.
No, I mean, he even he told Peter and John, hey, cast the net on the other side and you'll catch plenty, right? That was
Yeah,
one of the first
Yeah.
miracles. And
that's
I,
it.
and just I can't even imagine being able to just be face to face with Jesus. It would be awesome. So wherever I am, fishing would just be a added bonus. But yeah,
Absolutely.
that's what I would want.
Yeah, I tell people when that if I was fishing with him, that he would probably be like, "Hey, stupid, fish right there." And so that's what. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I couldn't imagine, I mean, to be able to share a boat, that would be something else. And I mean, uh, and I could only imagine how many fish you could yank up. I mean,
I mean, just think of how one, you could use casting it left or right, but also you don't have to bring snacks on the boat. You can just he can just turn make the water into wine, or turn the fishes into breads and multiply them. I mean, it's just an all around good deal. I guess we lost Colin, did we? There, Pappy.
I think he just said, you know what, bye. I mean, he'll be back here in just a second. He's probably having a little technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, you're right. It would be an honor. I mean, well, it absolutely, I mean, words can't even describe really what it
Yeah.
would be like, you know,
Yeah. No,
but
we lost you there for a minute, Colin.
Yeah, my power flickered and my everything shut down. So
that's what I'd say too.
I think the Lord did you like Lazarus. You know, he brought you back from the dead for a minute there.
yeah. I think that was probably saying I'd have to probably throw the bait out for you instead of just telling you. So, but man, Jared, thank you so much for coming on. We really, really enjoyed it. And guys, next week we are going to we're going to be in Orlando at ICAST, and so we will not be doing a live next week. We're probably going to, if we have one go up, we're probably going to do a recording. And if y'all can, if there's a past episode that y'all want to see again, let us know. Like, I mean, because again, like we've had Iconelli, Bill Dance, Jimmy Houston, Roland Martin, Patrick Walter, Shaw Grisby. We've had, I mean, almost 5 years of doing this. We've had a bunch of people come on. If there's an episode that y'all would want us to put out, just leave it in the comments. So hopefully we will not be doing a live, but we will be. We're going to try to be able to post a recorded episode. So, but Jared, man, thank you so much. I enjoy talking to you, and I know Pappy does too, because he geeks out like how all of us do with baits and trying to learn different things and being able to. What we need to do, we need to get the three of us out on the boat, and he will really freak out when he starts seeing you kind of tinkering around with things.
Well, I appreciate.
I don't know if I will, because I'm just as bad. I'm just as bad.
Might not get any fishing done, but I really appreciate you guys bringing me on. I mean, after you going through that list of people on here, it's honored that I got a chance to be on here as well. I appreciate the support for the Lure Company and the growth there, and it's a good time. I could talk fishing forever, as you can see.
Yeah.
You let me know the time and the place. We can all get out there and do some fishing, and I'll be there. All right.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Well, guys, again, we will see. Well, stay tuned for us. We're going to be having a bunch of stuff going out with ICAST. We're going to have, we're going to be posting a lot from Tuesday throughout until we get done with whatever videos and stuff. I mean, it's probably going to go on probably about a month after with all the content that we're going to film. So keep up with, especially the new baits that's coming out. We're actually, and we're going to do a little video and stuff, maybe with the old wave frog. I don't know, maybe something that's going to be coming out here because we're definitely taking some rods, and we got to be able to throw some frogs or something like that while we're down in Florida. So I'm going to be packing baits and stuff up, and so we're going to have some of our bruiser baits. We're going to be taking our fireballs from Wild Hunters, and we're going to be taking some frogs from Copper Red Baits. So stay tuned, and we're going to have a blast, and hopefully we'll be able to show you some baits that are coming out that you can be looking forward to. So, guys, we hope that you have a blessed one. Remember, God loves you as if you're the only person in this world to love, and we will see you here later on.